And God said, Behold, I have given you every herb-bearing seed. To you it shall be for food. Genesis 1:29. Man did eat angels' food. He sent them meat to the full. Psalm 78:25. Everyday Manna with Lisa.
Hi everybody, and welcome to Everyday Manna. Today we are going to make some appetizers. You know, there are times when I really just don't want a big heavy meal. I like to have just 3 or 4 little small bites of different things, and that's what we're going to do today. Of course, you can mix these up with other meals. If you're having a party, this is a great little buffet to set out for your guests to enjoy. So we're going to be making some different appetizers, and we're going to start with one of my favorites, and that is a spicy wonton. Now, I love Chinese food. I love egg rolls and wontons and all kinds of different dishes. So today I'm going to show you how to make what's called a spicy wonton. I have here a skillet that I'm going to turn to like medium-high heat, and I have about 1/4 of a pound of lean ground beef. Now, you could substitute ground chicken or ground pork or ground turkey if you wanted to, if you didn't want to use the ground beef, and that would be fine. So we're going to get this in the skillet first to start browning up, and we're just going to let that get good and brown. Now, this is the 90% lean ground beef. If you use something that's less lean, like ground chuck or regular ground beef, then you're going to need to drain off the excess fat that will render out of the beef. But today we won't need to do that because I'm going to be using the very lean things. Let me clear my board here. I've got 1 small onion that I'm going to mince up and add to it. You could use a shallot, or you could use a little spring onion. A little green onion would be fine in this too. Either one would work. But we're going to mince it up, and we're going to add it to the beef so that it can start, cooking and get translucent too. Now, if I was using ground chuck or something that needed to be drained, I would probably not add the onion until a little later. But I do know that that's very lean beef, so I'm going to go ahead and add my onion too so it can mince up. Just mince it up kind of fine because these are small bites and you don't want anything that's real big in there. So I'm going to go ahead and add that to the ground beef and let that go ahead and start cooking. I really love little bite-sized little appetizers. In Spain, they do a lot of this, and it's called tapas, T-A-P-A-S. And they will have many little plates out with small individual little appetizer size servings of dishes, and just let people go around and choose what they want. A lot of countries do little small appetizers as their meal. This is a piece of ginger. It comes in the grocery store, usually where you will find the fresh garlic and things like that. You'll find ginger. It comes in, can be little pieces, and it can come in a great big, it's called a hand. Just break off the amount you think you'll need. And then I don't like to peel it with a peeler. I'll just take a spoon, and look at that, how easy that comes off just using a spoon. And then I just scrape off the excess, the skin off of it without getting any, of the wasting the flesh inside. Ginger is wonderful. It's one of my favorite ingredients. Very good for you, but it has almost a spicy bite. Not heat hot spicy, but just a spicy, fresh, pungent flavor. You cannot substitute dried ginger that you buy in the dried spices. It's a totally different flavor. Although the dried ginger is made from this and you use it in cookies and things like that, it's totally different. You cannot substitute. It's not expensive. I think I paid like 25 cents for that little piece of ginger in the grocery store. And it freezes beautifully. If you don't use it all, then you can freeze it in your freezer. Now, there's a couple of ways that you can dice up ginger. You can either take a knife and mince it fine, or you can use a microplane, which is what I like to do. And you just take it on there and just grate it up. And you want a couple of tablespoons. This is a good flavoring, and one of the primary flavors in it, and just take your rasp, and you see how it does it? It just minces it up very, very fine. Or you can, if you don't have one of these, you can chop it, cut it in slices and chop it really fine in your food processor. Or you can just take a knife and mince it. As a matter of fact, let me show you real quick while that's browning up how you can do it with a knife. Cut little planks like this. This is not my preferred way, but you can do it if you don't have a microplane. Stack them up, and then take your knife and cut them in little tiny little julienne slices, and then turn it around. Take your knife and mince it. Now, do you see how finely that's being minced? That's okay too. Either way will work. If you don't have a microplane, you can do this way. Either way is fine. Watch your fingers, tuck your fingers under. Or again, you could do it in a food processor if you want to do it that way, would be fine too. And that's really actually probably plenty. And what I would do is wrap this up in saran wrap or in a baggie and stick it in my freezer if I wasn't going to be using it. But I'll use this because I use this in a lot of different things. Let's see how we're doing on our beef. Wonton wrappers, you can find them in the produce department of your grocery store. They're so versatile. A lot of people think you only use them with Chinese food, but no, I use them for many things, and we're going to use this other half of this package in another application today. We're going to be making a Mexican dish, Mexican wontons, totally different flavor, but using the Asian wonton wrappers. Now, you just want to kind of get that browned. And you see, because I used very lean beef, you see there's really no fat in there. And I didn't add any ground or canola oil or anything to my skillet. You don't need it when you use the lean ground beef. I'm going to add my ginger. Oh, I love that stuff. It's so, so good. Then I have some garlic, about, I don't know, 2 or 3 teaspoons of the pre-minced garlic, or a couple of cloves, depending on, how much garlic you like. I really do like garlic. And then I bought a bag of just the coleslaw mix. And I'm going to add about half of this bag to this mixture. And I'm just going to kind of let that wilt down. Some soy sauce, about a tablespoon. And then another one of my favorite ingredients that you see me using quite a bit is the Thai-style chili sauce. Find it where you buy the soy sauce and the Asian ingredients. Absolutely delicious. It is a little bit spicy, so if you really don't like a lot of heat, you might want to go with a Chinese garlic chili sauce, because the Thai style is very hot, but oh, it is so good. Had someone tell me this morning that that's very good on tuna too, tuna fish, just to make a tuna fish salad and put some of that Thai style chili sauce, that it's very good in that. I'm just going to kind of let that cabbage wilt down. Now I have 1 can of sliced water chestnuts. They just add a crunch to it. It's a texture thing. They really don't have a lot of flavor, but they sure do have a lot of crunch. I bought the sliced, and I'm just going to chop them up a little bit and add them to my cabbage mixture. I'm going to take a quick break and just let this mince. I'm going to mince this, add it to that, let that wilt, and I'll be right back with you in a minute to show you how to do the wontons. We'll be right back. All right, now all I did was add the water chestnuts. We're going to add a little bit of pepper. I did not add any salt because the soy sauce is so salty. And then Asian sesame oil, about a teaspoon. This is pretty potent stuff, but oh, it smells so good and it tastes so good. At the very end, add your sesame oil, the dark roasted sesame oil. And that's it for the filling. Now, I'll just be honest with you. I could eat that right there over rice or with some noodles and be very, very happy. But today we're going to make oh, I wish you could smell that. That wonderful dark roasted sesame oil is so good. Now, get your little assembly line going. In this skillet, I have some canola oil or vegetable oil that I'm heating because I'm going to just shallow fry these. But we're going to lay out our little assembly line. These are the little wonton wrappers. Make sure that you get wonton wrappers and not egg roll wrappers. The egg roll wrappers are much big. You could do this in an egg roll wrapper, but it would be, quite large. That really you could use that for a filling for egg rolls if you wanted to. It would be delicious. But we're doing the little mini appetizer size. These are the little wonton wrappers. Now what I like to do is just lay them out and then take a spoon. Don't overfill these. They will burst in your oil if you overfill. And just like that, that's a bit much. Just put a little spoonful down in the bottom. Let me show you again. This makes quite a few. There's usually about 60 wontons wrappers in each package. And what you don't use, you by all means can freeze, wrap them up real tight, freeze for another use. And then I like to take 1 egg and beat it with a little bit of water. And this acts kind of like a glue. And then take my brush and brush on 2 corners, just like this, of the wrapper. And then fold them over and take your fingers and just press. Make sure that you press really hard on the edges, just like this. What I like to do is get all of them done before I start frying. So I'm just going to keep filling these and pressing them over and making my little triangles, and then I'll show you how to shallow fry them. All right, now here's our little wrapped wontons, and I've got some oil. Let's check to see if it's hot. Remember the little trick I showed you? Put your wooden spoon down if you don't have a thermometer and see if it bubbles up around that spoon. And if it does, then you're good to go. You see how that's just kind of bubbling up there? That means my oil is fine. So another way to do is just to drop a little piece of something in there and make sure, see how it bubbled up there? That means I'm good. Make sure your little wontons are sealed because these cook pretty quick. Just a minute or 2 on each side. So I always like to just press the sides again just to make sure. And in this skillet, I'm going to go ahead and start browning some lean beef for the next recipe. So that's what that's doing over there. These just go very quick, very, very quick. And then just kind of shallow fry them, making room in there. I could eat the whole recipe myself. It makes quite a few. It'll make about, 30, 40 of these little wontons. And I like to just flip them over as I go until they get golden brown on both sides. And it just takes a minute. It doesn't take long at all. Drop that last one in there. Just a minute or 2 on each side. And then I have some paper toweling here that I'm going to put them on to drain for just a minute. You see how that's starting to get golden brown? That's what you want. Oh, I love them. I love little mini bite-sized things. If you're going to have a party, this kind of thing is perfect. This is also an excellent little appetizer if you're having a Chinese meal. It's very good. Now, let's get this, I'm stirring this. We're going to make, with the rest of that package of the wonton wrappers, we're going to make some Mexican wontons. So here I've got just a little bit of ground beef that I've browned up in a skillet. And we're going to do a different variety, a different version. Let's see how we're doing here. All right, that one's done. And just put it on some paper toweling to drain. You could put it on a little rack if you wanted to. It really only takes a minute per side, just till they get brown, because the inside is cooked. All you're doing is just crisping up the outside. That one's good. If your oil is too hot, it could burn them, so make sure that your oil is not too hot. The best thing to do is have a thermometer that you put in your oil, and you want it about 350 degrees. These are good. Go ahead and turn that off for a minute, because I don't want my oil to get too hot. Look how good they look. Oh, I just want to eat them right now. Let them cool for a minute, though, because they will be very hot. Those need about 30 seconds more. So let's go ahead and dice up a green pepper. About half of a green pepper is fine. And then I'm going to take out the little inside part. And I want to mince it up. Get my wontons there. And I'm going to add this to the beef along with an onion. We're going to dice up an onion. Let's get our little wontons out. They're done. Oh, look at that, how good that looks. Come on, you. And that's spicy wontons. Now, our beef is brown, so let's add our green pepper. You could use red pepper if you wanted to. Would be fine. Or an orange pepper. And if you don't like green pepper, you could leave it out. But I do like green pepper. This is a good way to sneak in some veggies with your kids too. And then another onion. Let's do a little onion. This is a kind of a big onion, so I'll probably only use half of this. We want a small onion. So we'll just use half of this one. That's getting good and brown. Now this is using the same little wonton wrappers. This is just going to be a Mexican version. We're going to add some onion and green pepper, and then we're going to put some salsa in there and some diced green chilies. Going to be so good. Add our onion and let that saute in there in the beef and green pepper. Just let that kind of go. Now that's very lean beef, but the juices, the waters from the vegetables will come out. Just kind of let that cook. Then we're going to add 1 4-ounce jar of diced green chilies. Don't drain it, just add the liquid and all from 1 4-ounce can of the diced green chilies, and that's where you're going to get a little heat. They're not very spicy, but they do have just a little bit of heat to them. If you don't have the little diced green chilies and maybe you have some jalapeno peppers, you could add that. That would be fine too. We're going to add a little bit of salt because I don't have any soy sauce in this one, and a little bit of pepper. I'm just going to let this saute. I'm going to take a quick break, and when I come back, we'll add the rest of the ingredients to our Mexican wontons. I'll be right back. All right, now all I did over the break was just let this simmer, and I added 1 cup of just prepared bought salsa, whatever kind you like. Now I'm going to add 1 package of the dried taco seasoning mix. Maybe a little bit of water because it's a little bit dry. If you think it's a little dry, just add a little tiny bit of water, and then some cheddar cheese, about a cup. And that's it for the filling. And then we're just going to stir that all together. Let that cheese melt and blend in that taco seasoning mix. You could use Monterey Jack cheese if you wanted to. Whatever kind of cheese you like. I just typically like cheddar with my Mexican food. And look at that gooey, wonderful, cheesy mixture that we're going to put in the middle of our wontons. Now I told you the wonton wrapper is very, very versatile. I'm going to take this off the heat because it's done. I'm going to get my oil. Now, I'm going to use the same oil. If you're cooking both of these at the same time, you can use the same oil. You don't have to get a new, skillet with oil. You can use the same oil. I'm going to do the same thing that I did before. I'm going to lay out my wrappers in my little pattern. If you're at home doing this, then I would probably let that cool for just a few minutes, but for my purposes, it's fine if it's warm, but it's a little easier to work with if it's cool. And then we're just going to lay out our little wrappers. These are the most versatile little things, I'm telling you. They're just great for so many different purposes. You could even cut these up into strips and use them as noodles in soup, like chicken noodle soup. Great little tip for you there. Same thing, we're going to take a spoon and we're going to add some of our mixture. You could also, this right here, serve that over some crushed up tortilla chips as a little taco salad would be delicious too. Could do that. There's so much you can do with filling style things. A little spoonful in each one. Don't overstuff. Don't be tempted to do that. As I've done it, and I promise you, it makes a mess. Because I think, oh, a little's good, a whole lot's better. Well, no, not in this application, because if you overstuff them, they make a mess because they will explode in the oil. Same thing that we did with the other. Fold it over, seal your edges. It's very important that you put that little egg wash on the corners because that keeps it glued together. The egg wash does a great job of that. Same thing that we did before. And then we're going to shallow fry them. See, I overstuffed that one. You see that? See how it's coming out? You don't want that. So I'm going to take a little bit of that out because I don't want a mess in my oil. I put a little too much in there. So take a little bit out, and then reseal. Same thing we did before. All right, now I'm just shallow frying the very same way that I did the other wontons in just some canola oil or vegetable oil, whichever you have. But if you'll notice, we've got a lot of the filling left. Now I'm going to show you another way that you can use that filling while the rest of these cook. In the freezer department, you can find the little mini phyllo dough shells, little tart shells. You've seen me use these before. Well, these make great, all I do is thaw them. I don't bake them. You can crisp them up in the oven, but I find if they're thawed, they're already cooked. You don't really need to do that. But if you want to stick them under the broiler, you can. But I'm going to show you how you can make another little appetizer for your guests. Is take the little phyllo dough shells. Let me get my little wontons out. There we go. Don't want them to burn. Take your little shells and then put them on your plate. Take a spoon. These are little mini taco bites. Take a spoonful of your Mexican filling. You could do this with your little, the little first ones that we did, the spicy wontons too. You could use either filling. But this is just another way to use that. Put them in your little shells. Just a little bite. Sometimes you just want a little nibble of something. But I will warn you, they're very addictive. You want to eat them all. They're very good. And then you top these with whatever kind of taco toppings that you like. I like, on my tacos, a little bit of lettuce and just a tiny bit of salsa and a little bit of cheese. But now there's cheese in here, but you obviously could, if you wanted to. I'll finish the rest of those in just a little bit. But you could top it with just a little bit of your shredded cheese or your shredded lettuce if you wanted to. Very pretty little things. And then maybe just a little tiny bit of sour cream. Some people like sour cream on their tacos. You could put just a little tiny, if I could find me a little spoon here. Let me grab a spoon. Just a tiny bit of sour cream on each one to make them pretty. You could do that. You could chop a little bit of finely diced tomatoes, and you could put that on there. You really can do anything you want with these. You could put a little more salsa in there, a little more cheese. You could do anything you wanted. Some sliced pickled jalapenos on top would be delicious. Anything that you want. Use your imagination. That's what cooking is all about. You take a recipe and you think, how would I like that? And then try it. There's all kinds of different things out there. You know, I hear back from a lot of new cooks that really just are starting to cook or just really getting interested in cooking. One thing I want to strongly encourage you to do, and I do this as often as I can, take some time, go alone when you've got a little bit of time, and just walk through the grocery store and look at the shelves. Look at the things. Don't just stick with the list that you always buy. Look and see what kind of new products are in and try them. And you never know you're going to like something until you try it. I do that with my boys. I take them to the grocery store, and for instance, I'll take them to the produce department. I'm like, okay guys, you need to pick one thing out that you want to taste, something that you would like to try. And recently, my Austin wanted to try a fresh mango. He had never eaten a fresh mango. And Aaron wanted to try a different type of a banana. It was a red banana. And so do that with yourself, but do it with your children too. You never know until you taste something if you're gonna like it or not. Don't be stuck in that rut of the same food day in and day out. Expand your palate, expand what you think you'll like, because you never know until you taste it. And something I always say is make it pretty. It is very true that you eat with your eyes first. If something looks pretty to your eyes, your taste buds just start anticipating it, and they'll, you really can trick yourself sometimes. You think, I may not like that, but if it looks pretty and appetizing, then it's more likely to taste good to you. These are just some of the things that I wanted you to try. Place them out on some pretty plates and set them out for your guests to try. And let me know what you think. Try the recipes, let me know what you think, and I'll see you next time on Everyday Manna.
Thank you for watching Everyday Manna with Lisa. This program is made possible by viewers like you. Your support is continually needed to keep Christian programming on the air. Please send your best financial gift to Living Faith Television in care of Everyday Manna,